came and rocked the boat at Wigan. When he saw that we were winning, I chucked some slack into his frame. I don't think he'll do that again. The loader was a rotten beggar. Ha! I caught him good and proper. I made quite sure that he'd regret it. Left it squealing like a ferret.
Margaret, get your hand back, show your union card. Check your facts, your dirty lot, it isn't very hard. We paid our dues for 3 months yet, and here's my voter's permit
to sail on the Leeds and Liverpool. Put
that in your breakfast song, give me at da 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 da, at da 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 da, at da 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 da, at da 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 da.
Some of them thought that we were a threat, earning more than they could get. But loads of folk were nice as pie, gave us stuff as we passed by. Crane and Fran from Leighton Lyle was a lovely bloke and a knowing smile. He asked to borrow my Daily Mirror and gave it back filled up with sugar.
Margaret, get your hand back, show your union card. Check your facts, your dozy lot, it isn't very hard. We paid our dues for 3 months yet, and here's my voter's permit
to sail on the Leeds and Liverpool. Put that in your breakfast song, give me at da 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 da, at da 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 da, at da 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 da, at da 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 da.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Ellesmere's historic and still working maintenance yard. Hey! I hope you enjoyed that song about Nancy Smith. She was written by a lady called Heather Wasty, who has very kindly let us use it in the show. So thank you, Heather! I don't know if she's here, but thank you for the clapping. Oh, she's there. Well done. Thank you. Now, Nancy Smith was a trainee boatwoman on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal during the war. And she was a very strong and determined woman. And speaking of which, let me introduce you to Big Sarah. Hey. Now she is representing all the working canal boat women in the 20th century and way before that. And this afternoon is a celebration of all these women and their hard work and the pride that they took in their work. So we have got they need plenty and had plenty of determination. So we have some songs for you from the Fizzgigs Band. Yay. And we also have these women very keen to talk to you about their stories. And we're going to start with young boatwoman Sarah and her daughter. So, off we go. Give her a good clap. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah and this is my little one. She was born on my husband's Fred's boat, just as I was born on my dad's boat all those years ago. There were 6 of us born on my dad's boat, 6 kids. Can you imagine? Raised in a cabin like that. Things were, shall we say, kind of cosy. But, you know, we liked it. We liked the outside life. Sadly though, life on the cut is difficult. My big sister Rosa, Ma's firstborn, well, she died of measles when she was this age, just 3 years old. Also, life on the cut can be dangerous. Many drownings happen on the cut. Well, no boaters learn to swim. I mean, there just isn't the time. So drownings among young children, sadly, isn't uncommon. But most of us survive. And when my brother was 10, we don't all live on the boats until we're grown up. And when he was 10, he went to live with my dad's friend because they needed some help. Many hands make light work, and working on the cut is hard work. There are chores for everyone to do, from when you're young right through. It's just that as you get older, the jobs get harder, heavier, more of them. For instance, one of the chores we had was collecting fresh water to drink. You can't drink the water from the cup. My brother painted this beautiful can. Isn't it lovely?
Mm.
But you feel the weight of it. Who wants to feel the weight of this? And that hasn't got any water in it. It's not like dragging that up the towpath just for a drink. Now, because we're always travelling around, we don't get much time for schooling either. Not enough to learn to read or write. And when I did go, the kids would call me names. They'd call me dirty. I wasn't really dirty, but you try living on a canal boat full of coal and keeping clean. It's impossible. But just because I didn't go to school didn't mean I didn't learn things. I went to live when I was 10 on my grandma's boat, and she taught me cooking and cleaning and knitting and sewing. I love sewing. I made all my clothes and my daughter's clothes, and I repair Fred's clothes, my husband. He's always damaging them. But also, as a craft, I learnt this beautiful bonnet making. Look at that. It took me hours. Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
We used to wear them all the time, you know, keep us cool, keep us hot in the winter and stuff. But now we wear them on hay days and holidays only. But I'm very proud of it, and it earns me a bob or two. Now, my daughter, I'm determined, she probably won't come to me now. Do you want to come to me? Yeah. I'm determined that she's going to go to school. I don't know how I'm going to work it yet, but I'm determined. Because on the cut, not many people can read or write. None of us gets to go to school, we're always working. So, somehow I'm going to work it out, because if she can read the newspaper to all the other boaters. And she can write important letters for them. It'll make her a someone. It might earn her a bob or two. Anyway, I can't stand around talking all day, I'm sorry. I have to go, there's work to do. But before I go, if my old memory will let me, I'm going to try and sing you a little song about my life. Lend me your ears, just for 2 minutes. I was born in 1900 and I lived upon the coast. My dad moved round to find some work. Yes, life was difficult, and because we're always moving, I hardly went to school. Now I can't read and I can't write, but I'm no fool. I'm no fool. When I went to school for learning, the children called me names. They said to me that you're dirty. I never joined their games, but I made this pretty bonnet, 'cause sewing is my craft. No, I can't read and I can't write, but I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. And now I have a baby and a husband on the cut. We work all day, there's bills to pay. Life was difficult, but I really am determined that my daughter goes to school. 'Cause I can't read and I can't write, but I'm no fool. I'm no fool. I'm no fool. How are you, Rose?
I'm very well, thank you, I am.
Good.
Oh, it's nice seeing you.
Have me bucket.
You've forgotten us.
Honestly, I'll forget me head one day. Come on, love, there's work to do. Bye.
Bye. Hello, everybody. My name's Rose Skinner, and I was born in 1898. Yes, that's right. And my dad, he was what they call a number one. That's a bloke who owns his own boat. Well, one of his favourite routes was taking coal from Coventry down the Oxford Canal to the Huntley and Palmer biscuit factory at Reading. And that's how I met my Joe. Because my Joe, he'd had his own boat since he was 21, and he used to go on the same canals. We got married in, 1919, and we lived on his boat, which was called the General Buller, but it was second-hand, and we wanted a new boat of our own. So we saved hard, and in 1924, we bought a brand new boat for £300, £140 down, and the rest at 10 bob a week. And I bet you don't know what 10 bob is at all, do you? Anyway, she was a beautiful boat, she was. A bit like this one here. She was called Friendship, and she was built of oak, and with an elm bottom. She could carry 30 tonne of coal, but we preferred to carry 25. And she was much admired then. And she still is today, by new folks as well as the old waterways families. Oh yes, she was a very lovely boat. My Joe, he preferred mules to tow the boat. Oh yes. And in 1919, we bought an ex-American World War I mule called Dolly. She was lovely, it was Dolly. And so now, we kept her 39 years. That's right, 39 years. She died in 1958. 39 years. And this is how it happened. The canals in those days and the towpaths were in very bad condition, and there was no traffic on them, pulling horses for horses and mules and things, so they weren't well maintained. And on an awful section of the towpath, she fell in. Well, my Joe, he managed to pull her out, but she caught a chill. Oh yes, and she was never the same again. And she died. Oh, she did. But we stabled her, yes, near Sutton Stop. And the veterinarian came, and he said she had pneumonia. And that were it. That were it for me, darling. And that were it for Joe and me. I said to Joe, I put my foot down, I did. I said, we're not having another animal ever again. We're stopping. Because he was 67 and I was 61. So that was it. Mine, I did have Scruffy. Now, Scruffy was my little terrier. There's been one like it round here a bit ago. Is it still here? Oh, I don't think so. Anyway, Scruffy was absolutely lovely, and she would sit on the roof along to me when I was steering. She was well known for Scruffy. Everybody liked her.
Joe Skinner was up at Sutton, Friendship loaded down with coal, bound for Croxley paper mills on the old jam old. Pulled by a mule named Dolly and steered by Rose, his wife. Scruffy was a dog on the cabin top, that's how they spent their life. Joe Rose, Scruffy, Dolly and the boat Friendship, loaded down with coal, a strong and sturdy ship. You'd see him down at Banbury or tied a sudden stop, or passing up to Windmill along the Oxford Cut. Joe rowed Scruffy Dolly and the boat Friendship, loaded down with coal, a strong and sturdy ship. You'd see them down at Banbury or tied a sudden stop, or passing up to Windmill along the Oxford Cut. Joe rowed Scruffy Dolly and the boat Friendship, loaded down with coal, a strong and sturdy ship. You'd see them down at Banbury or tied a sudden stop, or passing up to Windmill along the Oxford Cut, or passing up to Windmill along the Oxford Cut.
I did get about a bit. Oh yes, there were some blokes what had boats with motors on them. And they started having rallies because they were campaigning to keep the canals open and get the old ones restored. I think the first one was 1950. Anyway, in 1964, they towed Friendship with Joe and me all the way to Stratford-on-Avon to commemorate the reopening of the Stratford Canal. They called me the Queen of the Waterways. Oh yes, yes, but I saw the real Queen, or rather the real Queen Mother there. Oh, that was special. It was a special day for them. Oh, and it was a special day for me too. Mind you, it was hard work in them days, and I did my share of hard work along with Joe. And the only time I unloaded my first lot of coal at Rugby when I was 11 years old, imagine a hull full of coal. And I unloaded my last lot again at Rugby when I was 60. Oh yes, it was hard work in them days, very hard work, but it was very good. And I even made my own clothes. But the only opportunity I ever got to go down below to cook a meal for us, or polish the brasses, or anything like that, was when we were on a long road. It's when we were on a long road, so we were on a long pound with no locks and a clear road. And then it was meals, polish the brasses and all that. Oh, and I'll tell you something else as well. It was hard in winter. You wrapped yourself up in a thick coat, oh, very thick coat. Oh, you was warm from down here because you had the steering and the cabin protected you and the heat rose from the stove underneath. But from here up, oh, it was wicked. The wind bit into you. It whipped your face. Oh dear. Anyway, it's quite a nice day today, isn't it? And it'd be a good day to dry my washing. I washed it on the canal and then in my dolly tub. So I must go and peg it out now. So it's been nice talking to you. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Rose,
Hello, it's Sister Mary.
just listen to this, and you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a letter from Docks and Waterways Executive, that branch of government that took over the canal companies after the war. September 1956. Dear Sister Mary Ward, as from the 31st of December, we shall no longer be requiring your services as consultant nursing sister to long-distance boatmen and their families. We would like to thank you for your years of dedicated service to the boatmen of the Grand Union Canal. And so it goes on and on and on.
We wish you many years of happy retirement. Retirement? Never. All they've ever given me is the smallest honorarium. It's a mere drop in the ocean that goes nowhere near meeting the company's responsibilities to its own workers and their families. But it's not the money I mind about. That executive can keep their pittance. No, it's the voters I care about. So, I will continue to nurse them just as I did all those years before the Grand Union Canal Company ever gave me anything at all.
This executive may think I'm dispensable. The voters do not. I have grown up. I have lived nearly all my life here in Stoke Bruin by the canal. My father had a shop along the towpath, so I was only very, very young when I realised how tough life was for the boaters. I remember once a massive fight broke out between two sets of boaters over who had the right of way through the locks. They were both desperate to deliver their loads as quickly as possible. Time was money. They were like starving dogs fighting over a bone. And so many of them were injured that day, but they just had to fend for themselves. And talking about locks, they are such dangerous places. I first saw a child fall off a boat and drown in a lock when I was no more than 11, and I have never forgotten. But locks aren't just dangerous places for children. I've known several men who've had their hand or even their arm crushed between two boats or between a boat and the lock wall. And there were deaths on board as well. Influenza, pneumonia, even smallpox. And there was the most dreadful epidemic of measles that took so many children. Sarah told you about her sister. She was only 3. And all this was endured with absolutely no medical or nursing care whatsoever. So by the time I was 12, I had made up my mind that I would become a nurse and take care of these people, and that is still my conviction today. But I wasn't going to be the demure sort of nurse that went administering smelling salts. No, that wasn't for me at all. I would provide for these poor, hard-working, neglected, impoverished people with the care and support they need. And I would be a proper nurse. I would roll up my sleeves, staunch bleeding, dress septic wounds, and comfort the bereaved. But the opportunity for any training didn't come about until I was 30, and living away from the canal at Earl Spartan over there. I was a wife and a mother, but I became an assistant to the local doctor. I was kept very busy caring for the sick and the injured, and sometimes accompanying them to the hospital. But I learned so much, let me tell you. You have no idea of how much I learned during those years that stood me in good stead. But it wasn't until the age of 50 that I finally realised my ambition. We'd moved back to Stoke Bruin because my father was ill and my husband took over the running of his shop. And in 1936, I converted a room in our house into a clean, well-ordered and well-equipped surgery. And right from the very start, I believed that boaters deserve the best and that care should be free. And it seems that my reputation went ahead of me, because soon there were queues at the door. And as we lived right by the canal, I could nurse even the very sick. on their own boats, or refer them very, very quickly to hospital. And I cared for pregnant women, and assisted the midwives, and sometimes, if babies were in a bit of a hurry, I delivered them myself, and that was a joy. But as time went on, I got more and more busy, working harder and harder. And in May 1946 it was, do you know, I tended no less than 147 boaters. And because I was so familiar with the life and work of the boatmen and their families, I could sometimes detect conditions that the doctors might have missed. And another very important part of my work was to ensure that the canal companies would allow boats to delay their journeys in cases of sickness on board. That needed a very watchful eye, as you can imagine, and some very stiff letters from time to time, because they didn't want to. And over the years, there have been investigations and reports and recordings and recommendations, but it's all just so much hot air, nothing but hot air. No doubt at great expense, money that the boaters could have benefited from. And yes, now we have the National Health Service, and the canals have been nationalised. But still, here in 1956, my services are still required. Seemingly not by those managers living comfortably in their mansions, but by the boatmen. At the age of 12, I believe that every boater matters. And I still do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I will not be retiring.
Now Sister Mary gave her life to folk who lived on board. She fed and nursed them all for free, but they could not afford all the pills and potions, creams and lotions that from the bottles were poured. No monetary gain, just drop the pain, thought Sister Mary Ward. You cannot stop the boat, he said, it's going to Ellesmere Port. But with a baby sick inside, Sister Mary had a different thought. But she had pills and potions, creams and lotions to treat the babe on board. So blow his purse, the child comes first, thought Sister Mary Ward. She often dealt with authority, she knew the voters' plight, for they didn't know just what to do, for they couldn't read or write. And the pills and potions, creams and lotions were given to the folk on board. She cared to ease strife and disease, did Sister Mary Ward. And the pills and potions, creams and lotions were given to the folk on board. She cared to ease strife and disease, did Sister Mary Ward.
Oh, she did right good in that, Sister Mary.
She patched me up in 43, you know. Who am I? Well, the badge, you can't really see my badge, but it's got my initials on it. I.W. Iris Wheeler, that's me. No, I'm having you on. It doesn't stand for that at all. It's really the Wartime Boatwomen's Inland Waterways Force. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Actually, after the war, one of our number wrote a book about us and didn't know what to call it. And her daughter said, why don't you call it Idle Women? And the name stuck. People after the war started calling us that, but nobody in the wartime did that. As you heard from this song.
No need for all the theories, for there's no mystery here. The idle woman names a myth, so let us make it clear. It's all the fault of Susan, for Susan is to blame. Her daughter said it as a joke, and Susan used the name. So, hip hooray for Susan, let's thank her for her book. And now I've set the record straight, please let her off the hook. Thank Ellie and Emma and Margaret too, for telling us their stories of the women in World War II. Thank Molly and Sonia, Daphne and Audrey, Ethan and Mary, Elizabeth and Frankie, not forgetting Nancy, Jane and Miss Ramsey, and Anne.
Well, I drive right off in March 1942. There was an advert in the Daily Herald. It said, only women of robust constitution should apply. Well, I've been thinking about joining the Land Army. And then my mate showed me a feature in the Daily Sketch. That said, Bargee girls are new women's force, young, pretty and hardy. I thought that'll do me just fine. At the time, I was working in an office. I was only on the final. At this point, the Ministry of War Transport says that they wanted grit and determination. The year before, some bloke there said women couldn't do this work, that they would have to sit down and wait by the lock for someone to come along and open the lock gate for them. I think the someone might have been the man. Anyway, what I say is, let him come and see us work through the 21 locks of the Atom Flight. He'll change his mind then. So, after training, me and my two mates, we were put in charge of a pair of boats, a motor and a butty. Until this time, I thought a butty was a sandwich. Turns out it isn't. It's a boat what ain't got an engine. Now, it could be towed by an oars, a bit like this boat is towed by a cracker. Or it could be a boat with an engine. Now, when I goes home and I tells my family, my brother Stanley says, Iris, you know nothing about it. What are you going to do when it goes wrong? Well, I shrugged him off. I mean, I'm one of 7. 6 brothers I've got. They're away in the Air Force or the Army. And I won't let on too much. It's a bit of a relief, really. Because they only expect me to do skivvying for them when they're at home. But even though they're away, my dad's still there and this is difficult as well. So it was a chance to get a bit of freedom. Anyway, they sent me on a course about petter engines. So put that in this pipe and smoke it's done. Of course, living in such close conditions, me and my mates, we had to sort of get on. And they were a bit of cut above me. Like I said to you, before the war I was only doing filing. Well, one of my mates, she'd been a ballet dancer. And another one had been a teacher. Me, alongside a ballet dancer and a teacher. Some couldn't hack it. There was one, we called her Bash, I think. She'd been a factory worker before the war. She said they were too stuck up. She left. I'll tell you a funny story. There was this pair of sisters. Oh, they really were cut above everybody else. Very highfalutin. And they'd sit there, painting their nails or touching up their coat and lipstick. They didn't get on too well. But me, Nancy and Audrey, we got on just fine.
And what about the diaries that no one got to read? The boyfriends and the accidents, the secrets don't breathe. And was it true they lived on cocoa, peanut butter and national loaf? And did they gather sweets and spuds from farmers' fields? Yes, I give you my all, so if the rain was Susan, I sang her from the book, and now I'm tangled.
What we earned depended on how much we carried. But the Ministry of Road Transport promised us £3 a week. Now, them land articles, they only get £2.4, so that's not bad, is it? But it is hard work. Many's the time we're up at 6 and have to let go before we've had breakfast. Oh, I can remember loads of times standing there, stirring a pot of porridge on the stove just inside the door with one hand and steering with the other. Every 10 minutes or so, there's a lock, and one of us has to jump off and run up to set the lock to let the boat through. Do you know, between Birmingham and Worcester, there are 32 locks, and it takes over 2.5 hours to get through that lock. But there's a single locks, so that means that the motor has to go in first, and then the lock has to be reset, and one of the women has to bow haul the butty in to go through second. Now, luckily, we work mainly on the main line. That's from London to Birmingham. So we pick up steel at the docks in London, we go up to Birmingham, unload, pop round the corners to Coventry, pick up the coal and back to London. So that makes it easier for us because there's double locks and the boat and the butty can go in side by side. When there's a long pound between locks, it gives us an opportunity to fill up the coal box, make up the fire, prepare the dinner, polish the brasses, clean the engine. And sometimes, if we're lucky, and we know there's a friendly farmer nearby, one of us can nip off and go up to get some milk. We take a can with us, but the boat has to keep on going. So when the woman comes back with that can of milk, and it's heavy, and it's banging against it, she has to run up the tow pond as fast as she can to catch up the boat, because like we said before, time is money, the boat's got to keep on moving. But it was worth it for some fresh milk and fresh eggs. Because mainly we lived on tin milk and tea and cocoa and porridge and treacle and all that sort of stuff. We did have emergency ration cards, and that meant we could go into any shops, anywhere to get our stuff. But the shops were usually away from the canal. So we didn't have the time to go there because, like I said, the boat had to keep on moving. Luckily, there were some pubs along the way by Locksides, like the place at Stoke Brook where Sister Mary worked, or the Greyhound at Sutton Stock where Friendship got moored, Rose and Joe Skinner's boat. And those pubs had the basics, so that was great. And do you know what? My favourite time was buy a fish and chip shop. Oh, what I wouldn't give for some good fish and chips right now. So there we have it. On the go since 6, breakfast on the go, 11's is 9:30 of bread and jam, dinner, tea with bread and jam, then a tie-up, hopefully fish and chips. Oh, yeah. But you know, it's not all about the carrying. We have to do the unloading and all. And the worst, in my book, is coal. What you've got to imagine is, that boat, when the coals aren't on it, is full of coal, and it gets to a wharf, and there's a chute. And you have to get the coal out of there into the chute. So you have a shovel, and there you are, down into the coal, up and over your shoulder into the chute. It's back-breaking work. Then, when it's empty, you've got to sweep out the bottom, and imagine, at the front of the boat, stacked are 26 floorboards. And we have to get them floorboards and pull them out and lay them back in the boat. But it's even more difficult than that because, as you will see, when you go and look at something in a minute, if you haven't already been, there's chains across the boat what holds the sides of it in. And we have to get underneath them chains in order to get the boards. You should see the bumps on my spine. Whoa. Yeah. Bashed backs, broken nails, blisters, cuts, calluses, and dirt. Everywhere, dirt. And we only have, the bog's gone. There's only too many bottles, wasn't there yesterday, to wash in. But when we get to a public bath, sixpence for soap and a soap, it's bliss. And then maybe after, visit to the pictures. Pints in the pub, fish and chips supper. to pay back. Somebody tells me that the war is coming to an end, and it's right, it should. But I don't know what's going to become of me after the war. But I do know two things. One, I'm not going back to that filing job. And two, I'm never going to go back to skiing with my brothers and my father ever again. Ta-ra.
One day we stopped to fill up our tanks. A bloke came out to pay the crank. I'll fill you up, he said with a grin. But I could see no going in. When he finished and went inside, Margaret kept him occupied while I did the job he should have done. But there's another battle won. Margaret, get your hand back, show your union card, check your facts, your dozy lot, it isn't very hard. We paid our dues for 3 months yet, and here's my protest permit to sail on the Leeds and Liverpool. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yatta-da-da-da-da-da. 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 Yatta-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, how great and how interesting to hear all those boatwomen's stories. And Sister Mary Ward, what an eye-opener. They all worked so hard and took such care of their families. Their lives are our history. Thank you all for watching and being such a terrific audience, and so many of you. We do hope you've enjoyed this Gigs production. Now,
Days gone by, the women worked with husbands on the cut, steering boats or handling horses as they hauled. But their work was never over, cooking, sewing, cleaning brass, raising children in conditions cramped and small. Women on the cut, there were women on the cut, working through the wind and cold and wet. Women on the cut, where life was difficult, their lives are our history, don't forget. During all the war years, when soldiers went to fight, women did the jobs that men had done before. And at all their destinations, the cargo still arrived, boating women doing their bit for the war. Women on the cut, there were women on the cut, working through the wind and cold and wet. Women on the cut, where life was difficult, their lives are our history, don't forget. Today tradition lingers with women on the cut, but the way they work is different than before. Painting roses and castles on pots and water cans, selling diesel bags of coal and so much more. Women on the cut, there were women on the cut,